Why hello you amazing beautiful people and welcome back to another reaction video. Ah my word, Bricky bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh my word, I don't even know where to begin with this, man. We just started going down the Warhammer rabbit hole and Bricky has been holding our hand into discovering what the frick Warhammer actually is, and I don't know what got into Bricky. I don't know if this guy had one too many espresso shots one morning, but he has decided to record just an endless amount of Warhammer freaking videos. And it starts with this one right here, part one. Part one. Now, I don't know how many parts there are, but part one is 2 hours long. Every single Warhammer 40k faction re-explained. It is the updated, re-explained, reimagined version of the videos we checked out that are from ages ago, and literally every single one of you has been asking me to react to this. Now, this is huge. The only way I'm going to be able to properly do this is splitting these into 4 parts, because there's just no way I'm going to be able to take in all that information and give these videos justice. So part 1 we'll split into 4 parts. All right, I can't believe this. We're gonna be doing this for ages, by the way. If part 1 is gonna split into 4 parts, each one of those parts is gonna be about 40 minutes long in terms of reaction length, right? And then there's 4 parts to part 1, and I think there's 3 parts or something. Jesus, Bricky. Well, I guess the intro should be done, and we should be jumping into this because there's no time to lose. So let's freaking do this. Go grab some snacks. Go get comfortable, and let's dive into the world of Warhammer, guided by the one and only Bricky. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and go subscribe to Bricky's channel as well. Link to it is in the description. And let's jump into my first time ever reaction to the brand new Every Single Warhammer 40k faction re-explained Bricky video.
In the kind brightness of the far past,
Bricky,
there was no war. Our
Bricky's looking
galaxy
good. Look at him.
was, for a long time, fairly empty and quiet.
Nice.
The first known species to appear during this time are known only as the Old Ones, cosmic entities that traveled across the galaxy with ease and seeded life through the stars. Shortly thereafter,
I've only just now realized they probably weren't called the Old Ones, like when they first appeared. You know, they like appeared, oh, hello, and then people are like, it's the Old Ones. Like, what do you mean the Old Ones? We just got here. So they probably do have a name. I wonder what that name is.
after a new species began to arise. The Necron tier. Evolving under the harshness of a devastatingly powerful star, the short-lived and irradiated Necron tier try to find the secret to eternal life and to be freed from their terrible existence. As they expand through the stars, they find the Old Ones and they plead to them to share the secrets of the universe and grant them purchase from their short and painful existence. The Old Ones respond with a lol and a lamau, and with their immense power, they force them back to their homeworld. The Necron tier, filled with rage and hatred, make it their duty to get revenge on the Old Ones. A revenge that would come swiftly as a chance encounter with other gods gave them a solution.
Why does that
These
guy look like the
other
guy from
gods were
Guardians of the
known
Galaxy?
as the G.O.T, a race of highly powerful star-consuming entities. Do not fear, young mortals, for we, the G.O.T, will provide you with the immortality you seek. Come now, won't you shake a poor sinner's hand?
And of course, everyone knows the Catan were very friendly, and they made the Necron tier super immortal and happy, and then the Old Ones were like, yo bro, actually we kind of chill now, and then they all danced around and skipped in a circle and brought harmony to the universe. Oh no, wait, that's not Warhammer. Warhammer's the hell, death, and worst existence in, no, yeah, I was getting that confused with something else.
Quoted from Mephetron, the Deceiver, the Necron tier accepted the Cthulhu's offer of immortality, but believe it or not, this turned out to be a ruse. A trick. The Cthulhu crafted gigantic furnaces and began the process of biotransference. The Necron tier willingly walked line by line into the furnace engines made by gods who devour stars, and
why did they
had their
willingly do
souls
this?
Consumed instead. The short-lived, irradiated, and cancer-inflicted race of the Necron tier ceased to be, and the immortal, soulless Necrons remained. Now backed by the immense power of the C'tan, the Necrons rally against the Old Ones, and the bitter conflict in the stars at this time is known as the War in Heaven. Despite creating various races and entities to aid them in this battle, the Old Ones are overwhelmed and eradicated down to the last, due to the sheer power of the C'tan fat off the souls of the Necron tier, and with an army of unthinkable robotic slaves at their behest. However,
so the C'tan literally ate all of the damn Necron tier's souls, which buffed them up so they could fight the Old Ones. They then enslaved and immortalized all of the bodies of the Necron tier and turned them into the Necrons. So they basically just got delivered like a super army on their doorstep. Like, literally just, hello, by the way, here's your giant army. And the C'tan obviously didn't like the Old Ones to begin with. The C'tan could have gone about this a different way, you know? They could have been like, yeah, let's align, like, we'll form an alliance and take them on together. They kind of went about this in a really awful way.
The C'tan are greedy, spiteful gods.
Yeah,
and when there was
suck,
no foe worth killing, they turn on each other. The Necrons then put their sights towards the C'tan and lay waste to them, securing their freedom. The once subservient Necrons now control their former masters. Worn out and weakened by these wars, the Necrons under their leader Zarek, the Silent King, lie dormant with a plan to eventually wake and reclaim control over the galaxy.
Red Rising.
Over millions of years, empires rise and they fall. The species created by the Old Ones have footholds over the galaxy, but on a pale blue dot in the thick of all this conflict, humanity begins to evolve. And for the most part, the basic path of humanity's evolution remains the same as it is now for almost 15,000 years. Right now, in the 21st century, this is canon. You, right now, Twitch streamer reacting to this video, you existed at a point in the Warhammer universe. But with video.
What's the writing say? We see you. Does that say someone is gay? What does that say? I swear that says that. Am I crazy? What? I'm guessing he doesn't. I'm a YouTuber. I don't consider myself a streamer. A lot of other YouTubers these days do consider themselves streamers, but I would say I'm a YouTuber first, streamer second. So he can't be talking to me, right?
You existed at a point in the Warhammer universe.
I swear that says gay.
But with time, humanity's ambition and the power of their technology becomes unmatched, and the golden age of expansion begins. Humanity starts to branch out through the stars with powerful tools used for agriculture, mining, and expansion. Some branches
Just
of
like
humanity
Dead
would
Space.
eventually
Nice.
settle far away from Earth itself. And around this time, the psychic ability of humans are greatly expanded, and what we begin to know as psychers appear. But despite all the progress, things would begin to collapse. The machines created to aid humanity would turn on them in M23,
No.
an event known as the Cybernetic Revolt, and trade would begin to collapse due to the immaterial warp, aka actual hell, beginning to cause ruptures in space and time. These warp stones would separate humanity, and this would be what is known as the Age of Strife. The warp, a sea of souls, storing all thought, emotion, and the souls of those who have passed on, begin fluctuating into something terrible, as far on the horizon, something horrendous was brewing. You see, the warp isn't just a random assortment of chaotic energy. It is fairly well organized, thanks to those living in the galaxy. The warp itself acts as an afterlife of sorts, and the actions of the innumerable amount of creatures who live in the galaxy have manifested a pantheon of organized entities known as the forces of chaos.
It's kind of interesting that at this stage in the universe, you have these giant battles and everything going on, and kind of, you know, with the Necron tier, and then he didn't mention the imprisonment though, did he? He said about like them rising and becoming in charge, but didn't they imprison like themselves? Aren't the Necrons at this point like sleeping? Like are the Old Ones and the C'tan and the Necrons, they're all gone, right? At this point in the story, right? They all like locked themselves away. I don't know what happened to the Catan, though? Are they just enslaved now? But the old ones are all gone. And the Necrons then freeze themselves or something, right? In those big things. But that wasn't mentioned this time. But we already know that. So at this point, that's what's happening. And then that's why the rest of the galaxy evolves. And because the other people are so... The other races that the old ones created are so far away, they're not affecting humanity at this point. So that's why evolution continues at a normal rate, right? That's... Yeah? No? But the real thing I wanted to mention was the void and like hell, and the fact that it operates as an afterlife. It's a shame there's not like heaven equivalent, because that'd be a better place to go. It sounds like it. But at this point, it's all balanced. The void, it works. It's balanced. There's no like, even though it's like opening rifts on Earth and there's like shit coming out and stuff, it's still fairly balanced.
Their helm are three major entities: Khorne, Nurgle, and Tzeentch. However, a fourth one, Slaanesh, was about to be born. The ancient Eldar were one of the first species created by the old ones, and due to their extreme and unbridled excess, the birthing of Slaanesh tore a hole in the galaxy and forever split the Eldar into those of the craft world, who sought to bring their species back together, and those of the Drukhari, who wished to continue what caused the birth of Slaanesh in the first place. The birthing of this fourth chaos god settled the warp storms of the Immaterium and ended the age of strife, but humanity was still fractured. So one man revealed himself and spearheaded an immense attempt to reunite all the fractured pieces of humanity.
Legend.
That man was the Emperor of Mankind.
Good old Emperor of Mankind. To be honest, from what I've heard, wasn't actually that bad of a dude. A lot of the people who followed him, pretty bad. But him himself, not that bad. At least from what I've heard.
After reclaiming the nearly destroyed Earth, the Emperor embarked on the unification wars to unite humanity under the banner of the Imperium of Man. Nice. However, due to the very long and devastating impact of the Age of Strife, humanity as we know it is not the same. To reconquer Earth, the Emperor would need more than mere men. Great beings, known as the Thunder Warriors, were recruited by the Emperor to reclaim the Earth with ease. But these warriors are a blunt tool and had, overstayed their welcome. He would need something better, and that solution would be known as the Space Marines.
How did they get rid of the
soldiers that will
Thunder
have the
people,
skill and cunning exponentially greater than the mortal man. These new warriors would be commanded by an elite group of his very own sons known as the Primarchs. Unfortunately though, Daddy didn't charge the baby monitor, and his 18 sons would be stolen by the forces of chaos and scattered across the galaxy. This would begin the Great Crusade, a monumental task to take back the stars in the name of humanity and reclaim the lost Primarch sons. However, he would need a
Warhammer TV show with like just with all this brutality or movie series or something like Serenity style would be so fucking cool, man. It'd be so cool.
Fires of industry to make this happen. Looking to the distant cousins of Mars, the Emperor signed a treaty with the technologically irradiated hellscape of the Red Planet and allowed the cult of the machine god, the Mechanicum, to supply his crusade. While Space Marines were the tip of the spear, their numbers paled to the vast might of the Imperial Army and Navy. The Astra Militarum and their seemingly endless numbers make up the bulk of the fighting force for humanity, supplied by the intelligence and prowess of various agents of the Imperium, such as rogue traders and assassins. Due to the lack of connectivity between the worlds, what a society had become over thousands of years became mysterious and varied. Tools once used for harvesting and agriculture now are being used as machines of war in the form of Imperial Knights. Some of these fractures of humanity would even be changed further and become unrecognizable to the average human, with differences in size, skin color, appendages.
In fact, that Love, Death, and Robots episode, I actually feel like could be based in the Warhammer universe. Do you guys know the one I'm talking about? There's a Love, Death, and Robots episode where it's literally about farmers with mechs on like a farming planet, and it gets attacked by aliens. And it's like, and the aliens actually kind of remind me a little bit of certain aliens in the Warhammer world. And they like fight back. And you know what? If someone told me that was in the Warhammer world, I'd believe it.
cat ears, sometimes. Some would go so far to become their own galactic societies, like the miners of the Galactic Core and their immense supercomputers, forming the Leagues of Voton. After an incredible amount of effort and books, the lost sons of the Emperor would be reunited, and the Imperium of Man would be firmly established. This, however, would not last. Be it intentional or accidental, the Emperor would not reveal to his sons the true nature of the galaxy and the terrors of the warp. And this oversight would result in one of the most impactful wars in humanity's history. The favorite son of the Emperor, Horus, would fall to the powers of chaos and turn on his father. He ruined everything. This betrayal, this backstabbing, this heresy, this Horus heresy would result in a split in the Imperium with devastating consequences. Half of the Emperor's loyal sons would fall to chaos and become the Chaos Space Marines, along with the forces of the Dark Mechanicum and the Chaos Knights. The conflict would result in the absolute obliteration of Horus and the physical death of the Emperor himself. The near-dead body of the Emperor would be placed on the Golden Throne to serve as a beacon of humanity and allow for the continued ability to travel the stars, protected by his most loyal, the Adeptus Custodes. The Imperium would be vulnerable.
How big is the Emperor at this point? Like, is he just like 10 feet tall, or is he like fucking 100 feet tall? Because I swear there was like a person running around on him just then.
During this age of rebirth, and Terra would find itself under siege by one of the most formidable species in the galaxy, the Orcs. As time went on, and memories of the Emperor's vision began to fade, the Emperor would become less of a head of state and more of a religious figure. And the Imperium would change to reflect this. The leadership on a planet would be at the behest of the High Lords of Terra, and their actions would be courtesy of the incomparable power and authority of the Inquisition. The zealots of the Imperium.
It's crazy when you think if Horus hadn't done what he'd done, like what would have happened? Would the Emperor have unified the galaxy and there would have been like a peace? Like, is that what would have happened? Because the Emperor wasn't all about religious shit. Like, that wasn't his deal. At least, again, this is all from information I've gathered. Would the galaxy have been pretty chill? They would have all united, like, all of humanity and fought other people off and that sort of stuff, and along came Horus and was like, fuck this shit, man.
Imperium would intensify and create a brand new era known as the Age of Apostasy. And this ecclesiarchal command of the Imperium would end up with one of the strongest fighting forces of Terra, the Adeptus Sororitas. Over time, this age would come to pass, and we would approach the 40th millennium of Warhammer 40,000.
Here we are, baby. We're not even at the factions yet.
You guessed it, would come with its own form of problems. A primitive species once...
I've just realized we're not even at the factions. We haven't even made it to the fucking factions. Oh shit, we're just having a 10-minute long intro. I didn't even realize. No, our boy Bricky, man, this guy was cooking with this shit. This guy was in a whole different mood when he made this video.
Found during a recon mission would be able to evolve in relative secrecy for 6,000 years, becoming a highly advanced coalition of aliens known as the Tau Empire. And if the threats of the galaxy weren't bad enough, there are threats from outside the galaxy. As a monster has begun to wrap its tendrils around the Milky Way, the Tyranids, monsters that serve a psychic hive mind and present tactics previously unseen in the Milky Way. Be it a direct assault with their monstrous bug-like
cool, man. I love them. They're awesome.
Covert gene stealer cults. The presence of yet another threat in the galaxy is proving to be overwhelming to the Imperium.
I'd probably play as them,
in the 41st millennium, there is no peace among the stars. At any point, your life can and will be threatened by the Xenos races uncountable, or by the arch enemy of chaos within, or by the decroded terror that is the Imperium.
I also like the idea of playing as an orc and just like blowing up my own army.
And most bloody regime imaginable.
Like, the idea of an orc is hilarious. Like, you're playing as an orc on the tabletop. You're like, right, I roll a dice. All right, he blew himself up. All right, he blew himself up. He blew himself up and the guy next to him. Like, god damn it. Like, any of my guys gonna attack anybody? Just like blowing themselves up, just like along the front lines.
Forget the power of technology and science or the safety of promise and understanding. For in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Warhammer! Oh, shit! Here we go, baby! Thus it begins.
A fantastic job once again, Mr. Kurz, the Night Haunter himself. Oh, didn't you love that, my faithful audience? Once again, we have another criminal over the course of 6 hours break every single bone in his body. And with that, once again, our glorious leader has brought the crime rate to 0%. Always brought to you here on the Strawman News. I'm your host, Bricky. Thank you once again for joining us. Our top stories for tonight. The weather forecast appears to be rainy with extra dark, so make sure you pack those extra batteries for your lamp packs. And of course, let's not forget the fantastic gang violence problem we're currently having. Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait, I thought there was no crime.
Oh, right. It's gone.
Yay!
It's going to be a chilly one tonight as well, so make sure your skin capes are nice and tight.
Okay. I'll make sure they're tight.
No.
No?
Adamantium reserves have tripled?
Nice.
Wait, I'm sorry. Self-harm rates have gone down to 0%. The Night Haunter smiled?
The fuck is this? What am I watching? Is he building up for a sponsor here or something? Like, what the fuck is this? I don't know what's going on. Bricky's lost it, man.
No. This could only mean one thing.
It's gotta be right.
It is the Strawman News' great privilege to bring some color back in your life with the brand new 3-part Gamer Subs drop exclusively.
This fucking guy, man. This fucking guy. His sponsor integrations are fucking outstanding. I'll leave a link to Bricky's freaking channel. Because I always do, because if you're a reaction channel, you don't leave a link to channels, then fuck you. I'll leave a link to Bricky's channel, also the video. If you want to go support his Gamer Subs, you want to support his stuff, you can do it in the description. Go check it out, all right? Go check it out.
To our next scheduled program. 5 years ago, I made Every Warhammer 40k Faction Explained.
You did.
A passion project of mine for a universe that I enjoyed so much.
Yes,
its main purpose was to be a drawbridge, the separation between the layman who had only ever seen the big armored blue man situated neatly next to a Wetzel's Pretzels, and then the hardcore Warhammer lore nerd. That was just too wide, and there was nothing bridging these two together. Since 2020, Warhammer has exploded in popularity thanks to COVID, quality game updates, and a few excellent video games, and a couple mini-series. The sheer volume of people who told me they have purchased miniatures due to that video alone makes me feel as if Games Workshop owes me commission. However, that video is incomplete. I was on a
Do you know what's hilarious? This is going to be a random tangent, so skip past it if you want. I talk about the book series Red Rising all the time. I love it so much. And I talk about it so much that I've had so many people say they've bought the book series and fallen in love with it because of me always talking about that series. It's one of my favorite forms of entertainment I've ever consumed. It's fucking amazing. I can't wait for the last book next year. And I always talk about it. And I make jokes about this. And I even reached out to Piers Brown, the author, and his team, just to say if there's any way I could help, like, on the promotion for the last book, even for free. Like, I don't even care. I just want a copy. And I was like, even without a copy, I'll just do it anyway. And they didn't reach back to me, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, like, all I'm saying is, I get what Bricky's saying. I do.
Owes me commission.
It's hilarious.
That video is incomplete. I was not a casual fan, but I was also not a hardcore lore junkie. In the 5 years since that video's release, multiple channels have sprouted up, and the drawbridge between casual to the obsessed has never been wider or easier to traverse. Even I, myself, have been a part of Adeptus Ridiculous, a podcast teaching lore in a much simpler and condensed form. Needless to say, I've learned a lot. Warhammer is so much more than just Spaceman shoots big gun. It has also grown substantially from its origins, being a Warhammer Fantasy spin-off just in space. Now, It is a black library filled with immensely deep characters,
So
difficult
cool.
themes,
I
and
love the
even
way
some
Bricky builds this
tear-jerking
up, man.
stories.
He
It is
makes
a
it so
backdrop
fucking hype.
for 1,000,000 stories over 1,000,000 worlds, and I did not see its true depth in 2020. But now, I'd like to share what I've learned. We just had a brief summary of the world and each faction that takes place during it. And we did that because to truly understand each faction, we must understand what makes them the way they are. And to do so, we need to begin in chronological order, discussing their origins, their culture, their powers, and of course, what makes them oh so grimdark. So let's begin with the group that started it all and sing praise to the Infinite Empire.
The Empire! Wait, the Necrons. This is the Necrons.
As mentioned before, the Necron tier were the original form of the Necrons, an alien race far away from us that lived short, painful lives due to the irradiation of their star. Normally,
The Necrons are the, so the Necron tier are our original boys, right? But they're all gone. And the Necrons are after the war between the Catan and the old ones. So that's the Necrons, right? Get rid of tier, that's who they are. Okay.
this would manifest as like a sort of cancer,
Just we're all on the
space
same page.
cancer of sorts. The Necrons are very much inspired by the ancient Egyptian aesthetic, but unlike the windswept dunes commonly associated with it, the irradiated hellscape the Necron tier endured was far from picturesque. This also translates
Sounds
into
nice.
their hierarchy. They are a race of
go there on
nobles
holiday.
and peasants. Most of the peasants would often live for their very short amount of time, only a couple of decades, while the nobles tended to have better
Only a couple of decades. Psh. If you're born as a human, you live for way less.
care and would live a little bit longer, but still far less than the average lifespan of a human, even today in the 21st century. The leader of the Necrons was Zarek, the Silent
Yeah, but
King.
not
He was the
like-
one who took the deal with the Catan and
Not
the
in the Warhammer
Deceiver.
world.
Of course, he wasn't aware of the fact that they were known as the Deceiver at the time, but the whole species was blinded by hate after being debased by the Old Ones on their quest to cure their illness. The sheer pain that underwent the Necron race can't be understated, as their fear was manic. The Catan are, of course, gods that eat stars, and when the leader of your species tells you to march into the gigantic green furnaces to ascend to immortality, you march. The scenes from these are long lines of both the peasantry and nobles clutching their loved ones in a frantic act to save their own lives. Many of them already inflicted in the late stages of this space cancer, some of them crawling into the biotransference furnaces trying to outrace death itself, without realizing death was the one who made these to begin with. What came out the other side was a soulless husk. And I say that literally. A soul is not an abstract concept like it is in our world. An immaterial version of oneself discussed and
So I didn't think this was literal because of like the uprising in the future. Because I assumed that the Necrons at some point have the hatred to and like the will to once again go and fight the Catan like they do after they win the war with the old ones. I assumed that there was a part of them still in there. Maybe there is, but by the sounds of it, there isn't.
debated in religion and philosophy. No, in Warhammer, a soul is a real, tangible item of oneself. And the Catan basically were just like to every single person who went in their furnaces. If you were a peasant, you came out a Necron warrior, and you as an individual have ceased to be. You have no mind, you have no soul, and your body, as you know it, is made of an extremely advanced mass of re-knitting living metal known as necrodermis. You cannot think for yourself,
nice.
for you do not have a brain to think with. All you do now is await protocols from your overlords, which are the nobles who came out of the furnaces with their minds intact, not their souls, mind you, but their minds are very much intact. These nobles now have command protocols, and they are able to command all of their peasantry and do with them whatever they wish. Zarek, the Silent King, is...
So what does not having a soul mean then? Because if you have your mind intact, does that mean you have your memories of your previous self? Does your soul just Right. This might be a little bit of spoiler territory, but it's not really. This is for a Supernatural TV show. For example, in Supernatural, the TV show, when someone's soul is removed from their body, their mind is still present, they sort of lose every base of humanity. They become, like, very cold, and they don't feel emotions, and they just kind of, like, just operate on what they think is the logical decision. Kind of like Spock. Is that what happens to these ones? They have memories, but they don't have the emotions and the empathy to use them in a certain way.
Is the most advanced of all the Necrons.
That would make sense as to how there was an uprising.
Metallic version of himself with incredible power and intelligence. His strength allowed him to lead the undead and the unthinking armies of the Necrons to battle against the C'tan when they were at their weakest due to their incessant infighting, and then win back their freedom. But gods cannot die. So in reality, what occurred is the C'tan
what happened to the old
shattered
if gods can't die, what happened to the old ones who are dead?
to thousands of pieces, and each shard of their god was trapped in a stasis vault and mind controlled to do the bidding of the Necrons they once enslaved. The biggest challenge they face now are actually the upstarts of the galaxy.
That looks
the
so
Eldar
cool.
and the Orcs were quite prominent, and as you can imagine, a galactic war really takes its toll on the joints, or I guess the servos. It was in their best interest to wait out the galactic rise of the other races and come back at a more opportune time. So they went into stasis via these massive tomb complexes hidden beneath various worlds, biding their time until it was once again their opportunity to rule the galaxy. Zarek, the Silent King, as penance for his failure to his people, exiled himself into the darkness between stars for the next 60 million years with his perfect memory, a constant reminder of the doom he inflicted upon his people. Flash forward to the modern day, and the Necrons are reawakening, but it isn't working as well as it could be. Whether the tomb world is reawakened naturally or by some imperial moron stepping on a green glowing rock, the Necrons have come back to reclaim a galaxy they consider rightly theirs.
Is that actually a thing that happened,
but
by the way? Like a
60
random
million
imperial
years of hypersleep have taken their toll. Many
like the idea of a soldier just walking around a planet and just oh, what's that? Clink, and then a door just goes fucking opening, and then out pops this fucking army of monsters. Kind of funny.
Necron dynasties awake with systems unrestored and huge swaths of their population's minds completely lost. Necron nobles wake with various mental faculties compromised, sometimes exhibiting traits similar to excessive paranoia, schizophrenia, or even dementia. One notable Necron, Nemesis Zandrek, believes that he is still back on his home planet fighting off separatists and interlopers. See Oberyn, the separatists come, attempting to outflank me as they did at the 4th Battle of Vindach. How they calculate that daubing themselves green and roaring like savages will produce a different outcome, I cannot fathom. But it is of no account. Ready, my legions. Another glorious victory shall soon be ours. Other individuals, such as the esteemed Imhotep the Stormlord, seek to usurp the newly returned Silent King for rightful ruler over the Necron race,
Silent King not
believing
back?
his time has come to an end. While scientists and archaeologists like Trazen the Infinite and Orkin the Diviner spend thousands of years bickering over artifacts and petty squabbles. Truly, the Necrons are a faction of unthinkable, unimaginable power, held back entirely by their own hubris and 60 million years of stasis. It is a species that does not know of time, only of the ravages brought by it. A pharaoh of a dynasty may just be as frightened to awake completely mad as they are to be assassinated.
It's gonna be so weird, like, when there's a Warhammer TV show, like, the fucking brutality of it. It's like, imagine Game of Thrones, but every single character had like a sword that could shoot people across the whole damn world and blow them up, you know? The amount of characters are just gonna be dropping left, right, and center. You're never gonna root for anybody.
Thousands of years pass in an instant. There is a play, like an opera play, a retelling of the war in heaven in the Necron culture that takes 40 years to witness, because why leave? You have no need to eat or vacate your bowels. You are immortal, but you are soulless. Despite the Necrons' incredible technology, their mastery over time, reality itself, despite all of this, they still are missing a soul. And therein lies the biggest struggle. Most Necrons look to conquest the galaxy, kill the interlopers like the humans, Eldar, and Orcs that scrape at a fraction of their power. But the end goal for many, including Zarek himself, is to return the souls to their bodies, to undo the horrible fate he cast upon them.
Souls
this is not the interest of all. Many simply wish to rule their dynasty with an iron fist and kill all they consider unworthy. But to many others, it is to undo the decision that doomed them all. Before they can do that, there is a pest that needs exterminating. That is the fundamental understanding of the Necrons. They are so hyper advanced that their science borders on magic. They play with the fundamental aspects of reality and time. Their mastery of the physical galaxy is the strongest in the universe. Their weapons reduce people to the barest molecules, and they have devices capable.
It's crazy to think about how unbelievably fucking strong they are, right? Like how tough they are, despite the fact they haven't been around for so many years. Like they literally froze themselves. They were like, all right, well, we'll come back later. How many years has it been? 500 billion years? We're still the strongest? Shit, man, you would have thought one of these guys would have evolved past us.
Of causing stars to supernova. They are unfathomably difficult to kill, as if you do fell one of their number, the living metal reknits itself and the reanimation protocols allow it to come back alive once again. They're masters of teleportation and often
I guess they got all the
immortality will just have its consciousness translocated back to their tomb world to await reassembly. Normally they utilize large phalanxes of warriors and honorary combats, but some of them have fallen to various mind viruses.
Like
the destroyer cults are hell-bent on killing anything and everyone that lives with an overwhelming force. And then there's the flayed ones. Necrons cursed with I have no mouth and I must scream, a panic attack virus, as the last laugh of Landogo, the Flayer Catan. Slowly losing their minds, they strip apart their foes and adorn their bodies with the skin of their enemies, trying to better return to their old feelings of flesh and blood. The Necrons are a degraded version of their mighty empire and still one of the biggest threats in the galaxy. The only thing keeping them at bay currently is their awakening sickness and their infighting with no care to the timeline. But they are coming. And slowly, they plan to rid this galaxy of the vermin that inhabit it. My people shackled the stars and broke mortality when the species you sprang from had barely left the slime pools it spawned in. Our wars burned reality, and the dominion of our kings is without limit. The ground you tread on is not yours, it is ours. The war in heaven was a catastrophic time for the galaxy, and as stated in the above quote, burned reality. Of course, souls exist in Warhammer, and in the case of the Necron tier, they were consumed by the star gods. This begs the question, however, if you were to pass on, expire, as one might put it, where would your soul go? The answer to this is the warp. In Warhammer, a soul is real, and so is hell. The after.
Gotta be honest, this sucks, man. Because like living in Warhammer, shit. Dying in Warhammer, just as shit, if not worse than living. You die, I'm dead. Finally, freedom from my awful life. Wait, what the fuck am I? Why is it? This is hell. Oh great, I'm in hell. Okay, cool.
Afterlife, and that's the Empyrean, the Sea of Souls, the Immaterium. All of these names refer to the dimension parallel to our own, known as the warp. Now, the warp is not like our reality. It does not follow the classic normalcy of time and space. It is defined as the Sea of Souls, and it acts like this in a more literal way than you can realize. To imagine the warp is to imagine the sea itself. Hell is real, and you can surf on it. It has a current and can become more dangerous depending on where you go and how bad
I like this description.
As the Immaterium is a reflection of our reality and of our souls, all thoughts, all emotions, all feeling that goes with a soul is passed on into the warp. If an entire planet decides it's going to engage in a blood-fueled rampage.
I never really, like, when he's explained this before in the past, he's never used the sea analogy, but I guess it makes sense because of the amount of different races and people dying, and beings dying all over the fucking galaxy. You would imagine the warp is just insanely vast. So the concept of a sea of souls makes it a little bit more imaginable.
Age of murder and gore, then the warp around that planet will be affected in a similar manner. It's not something that you
around
can
a planet.
see. It is a parallel, not perpendicular dimension. But it is changing. To expose oneself to
like
the
the
warp
upside
for
down
any
in a
period
way?
of time invites
Kind of.
certain death outside of the most iron-willed of individuals, and to stare into it will drive one mad. Much like the open seas, things dwell in the warp. Whether these beings were always there and were just emboldened by the carnage of the galaxy, we can only speculate at. At a time, you could say it was more calm, but a certain faction's galactic war in heaven didn't do it any favors. Now the warp is turbulent, and its realms belong to a pantheon of gods known simply as the forces of chaos.
Well, I guess chaos will be our next step in this journey, because we're already 40 minutes in, and we're over 30 minutes into Bricky's video, and I am starting to realize why this is part 1 of 500 parts that Bricky has made. Because our boy is really going into some in-depth stuff with this. Massively so. In a very good way, it would seem. And I'm pretty freaking happy about that. The videos that he did explaining every Warhammer faction were wonderful and brilliantly well done for a newbie like me. They gave me like a brief understanding and look into this massive world, enough for me to get a full appreciation of it. But this video alone, we're half an hour in, and he spent, what, 15, 20 minutes talking about one faction? This is going to allow us to come out on the other side and have a much deeper understanding of each and every single one of these factions. For, I imagine, like he said at the beginning, people who are brand new to the world of Warhammer, such as myself, and for people who have been playing it for a while but don't know much about every single faction. Maybe you specialize in your own factions. So, I do want to just say a massive shout out to Bricky, because Bricky must put such a huge amount of effort into simply creating these videos. Like, doing all the research, all the knowledge, all the understanding, drafting together the speech and everything that he then conducts, as well as the editing behind it all, and he does an amazing job. He makes it incredibly consumable for the idiot like me. For the guy who knows nothing about Warhammer, sits in a chair and wants to learn about this incredible universe, and can just sit here and enjoy consuming it. And so, I really do love Bricky's videos. Go check him out for yourself. I feel like I'm at a point now where I remember names, which is nice. That's where I want to get to. And now I can literally talk about the Catan, the old ones, the Necron tier and the Necron, and I know the difference and the story behind all of them, and literally the origins of the world of Warhammer 40k, and that big war of the heavens, and how that fractured the frickin' void, the warp, and how that literally turned hell into a calm sea, from a calm sea into a violent storm, which then affected humanity and Earth as it went on forward, and everything there. And it's nice that I'm at a point where I know the origins. I know, at least to a level that Bricky's allowed me to get to. So yeah, I love that. I really do. I think Warhammer is one of the coolest freaking things I've ever discovered. I think the universe is outstandingly vast and brutal, and I find it just incredible. And already I'm at a point where I just want to learn so much more about it, and I can't wait to embark on this journey. Yeah, we'll get through every single section of these videos. As long as you guys keep supporting them, we will do all of them. So please make sure you like the video. Please make sure you subscribe for more. Please make sure you do everything you can to support these reactions. And I look forward to seeing you guys all in the next part. The next part of the next part. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself an awesome day. And don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out. And as always, my friend, you will see me